What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, BMT, joined with my amazing co-host. We are definitely here for another one. This is going to be a really educational as well as informative show. What I mean by educational because we are educating women as well as our community on certain things that are dangers, as well as we're hearing that of the story of a brave woman that has come forward to tell us a story, and she's actually given us the information that we need. Um, as you already know, for BMT, attorney in the show, Dr. A, we are advocates against sex trafficking as well as human trafficking. We have been fighting that fight legally in the medical field, as well as that in the practice, and also that of men actually standing up and helping try to bridge families with men and women and making a safe community. We are joined here with Chasity Barnes, and we're going to go over respectfully her life with Dr. A as well as attorney Michelle. If ever so need that I as a man need to step down from this panel, I will do so. But I ask you guys to like, share, and subscribe. Please, you guys, do not put nothing derogatory or disrespectful in the comments. It would immediately will be struck down and you will be removed from that of the channel. This is a very serious situation. We are hearing that of a young woman who is bringing her life openly to the forefront for us to hear. Um, so I'd like to introduce those. Dr. A, you already know her. She has a practice. She has worked to that better ensure the safety of women in the medical field. We also have Attorney Michelle, who is a legal professional, an attorney who talks about that of civil as well as court rights as well as conservative practices. And we're also joined here by our honored guest today, Miss Chasity Barnes, a woman who is writing that of a book of reclaiming her life as Chasity Barnes, life as a call girl. Um, she's a former call girl, excuse me, former call girl. In other words, that lifestyle. But she's going to tell us how hard it was to get away from that, as well as the dangers and the stuff that is not spoken about. Um, Ladies, you have the floor. How you doing, Chastity? You're on mute.
This is Dr. A, firstly, and I just want to say I have already met Chastity. We had an offline confidential conversation, and I am so proud of this woman because she's not even 30 years old. The brain fully develops by the age of 25, but already this young woman had to be an adult and was placed in very adult life and death circumstances from the tender age of 12 and 13, which is way, way before you are legal to drive, drink alcohol, have sex, have a baby, or anything. She was already having a real life experience. And we think this happens only outside of America. Bullshit. Chastity, get real with them. And I got your back all the way.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so hi, my name is Chastity Barnes. um, like she said, yes, I did have to start my life early. I had to grow up at a very, very young age. 12. Started the sexual and the adult actions of it, but I mean, even younger than that, I was at home helping my mom take care of my sister, helping my mom take care of my grandmother. She was, excuse me, older and she had MS. So she really couldn't move from her neck down. So, I mean, just imagine, a 6, 7 year old child trying to help her mom out of bed into a wheelchair, out of a wheelchair into a bed, I mean, into a car to go to church, doctor's appointments, having to deal with, watching your grandmother sit in a chair while you run around. I mean, that it hurts because everyone else's grandmother is able to go to the park and do things and have activities, and you can't
Chastity?
move. Um, I was I would help her nurse. She had a nurse that would come through and give her medicine. I mean, it got so deep to the point where, my grandmother couldn't go to the bathroom by herself. So we had to glove up, go in and take out what wouldn't come out on its own just for her to live. Because I mean, you can't, excuse my language, but you can't live full of shit. It's impossible. You'll die. And my little sister, she was helped, but she's young. I didn't really too much want her to have to grow up so fast with that kind of responsibility. And my mom didn't either. So you know, she didn't do it the way you would think, like loving and caring with a lot of affection. She gave me a lot of tough love. So, in my adult years, giving love was real hard, and growing up like that at home, what do children do? What they do in the world what they learn at home. So, I was mean. I was a bitch. Like, I didn't go get to talk to the guys that I went to school with. I didn't get to have a boyfriend at school that, brought me flowers and candy and stuff like that. So when I did get, I was in high school. I was the guy that I was with, he wasn't he was abusive. I met him walking down the street,
How,
going to the bus stop. He would come
how
to the bus
old
stop
was
all the
the
time with
how old was
the
this?
guy. I was 13 and he was 22, 23, between 22 and 24, I'll say. Um, and what really got me was patience. He had patience. He had money. He was African. He was different, and he was older. He had all the interest in me. He would bring me flowers, teddy bears, and he caught my attention. Well, I didn't know that he was a devil. For the first year, I mean, I got any and everything I wanted. I was wearing what the rappers nowadays say they have to, they got money to wear. Chanel and Gucci and Dior. I was wearing all of that. I wasn't wearing Bobos and stuff like that. I wasn't wearing that until I was with until I got back with my mom. My mom made me wear stuff like that. And we had money. But when he saw the pain that I was going through, that was his trigger. That was his attraction. That's what brought him to me. Oh, she's young. I looked like a 16 or 16, between 16 and 25-year-old girl. I mean, I was 13. You had 40-year-old men looking at me, whistling at me. Oh, you got a fat ass. Oh, you so pretty. I had
That's
my
it. That's
uncles.
it, Chastity. The bottom line is they knew this is somebody who is not being watched by a father. This is somebody
Yeah,
who is not being watched by a mother. Her mother may love her, but her ass is busy trying to cover the rent. So this little
yeah.
girl is wide open, like Little Red Riding Hood, and they're the fucking wolf.
So we want to ask the
Yep.
question. Turning the show. If you have anything you want to ask, um, we'll we're we want to understand that you spoke on a 23, 24 year old approached you and he was interested.
Hmm.
um in you. Was he, what was he telling you at a young age? And I'm gonna pass it over to attorney Michelle after that, because we have it
Hmm.
on a lot of conversations that, so long as the age of consent, um, so long as the age of consent or it's consensual age that is allowed. Um,
Hmm.
was your mom okay with him showering you with gifts and money and stuff?
She didn't know. No, my mom, my family is nothing. They are nothing like the streets. I lived two different lives. When I was with him, I was a bottom bitch. Whatever he told me to do, I did it.
Wow.
Whatever it was, the mission was done. When I'm with my mom, I go to praise dance practice. I go to school. I was cheerleading, basketball. It was two different lives. He trained me to keep my mom's secret. So when he came around, he was I was 13. Like I said, he was 16. I told my mom he was 17. He told her he was 16.
But okay, so he now you said he was 23, 24, but you
Yes,
told your
that
mom.
the cover was he was 16. For him to come
Okay.
around and be able to be with me in front of my family, I couldn't tell them that he was over the age of 16. They no, they're not going to go for that.
So the thing about it was, and attorney show you're allowed to step in, and it's okay. Like again, um, you were showered with gifts, clothes, jewelry, trinkets,
Mm-hmm.
um, clothing. Um,
Yes.
what was he promising you? What was he
A
promising
better
you?
life, happiness, peace, acceptance. You know, at the time, with me having the mentality that I did, I was mature, but I was only mature a couple of years. So I was really looking for, the physical father that I didn't have. I had a father. He was there, but not physically. So he basically
Mm.
protected me.
Now,
Okay, let me ask you some questions.
go ahead,
Hi,
honey.
everyone. This is Attorney Michelle. Okay, this is one. I'm going to gear this toward parents. Things, signs to look out for. How did you hide the clothes, the expensive clothes that he bought you?
I wore, the big, heavy set African dresses. I call them muumuus. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're really. I wore that sometimes, and when I left out, my mom would be sleeping, and I mean, I would just, when I go to school, she thinks I'm in school, so I'm not. I'm skipping. Sometimes he'll meet me at the bus stop. Sometimes he'll meet me at school, and I would change while I'm either in the woods, or we would stop to a gas station to change. So I would carry it in my book bag or carry a sports bag with me, have it in my locker, or leave it at his house, and I'll just take a shower and clean off at his mom's house.
So his mom,
So you never took the
his mom,
clothes to your house. His mom was
No,
involved. Hold on. We,
you got,
his
you got.
mom
none
at
of the
least
kids.
knew he was. Hold up, hold up, hold up. When I go back, his mom
Uh-huh.
knew he was 23. His mom should have
Yes.
suspected that you were still in high school.
I
How did
told
he
her.
tell your mom you were? So, in other
She knew
words,
the
she
truth.
encouraged her son to
Hmm.
date an underage child.
Well, I mean, now, yes, yes, basically, because I mean, she would be there when we fought. She would help us, when we had arguments. I mean, sometimes she would help me with my homework.
Jesus Christ.
But I mean, she's an African, and they live differently. Their culture is completely different. His real name, is an African. So it's like
It's not that
they're
different.
in
It's
our
not that different.
they're
They
walking our
tell us
soil, but
it's
they're not.
that different. Look, it's different, but it's not that different. That in
Mm-hmm,
Africa, they are still that old fashioned patriarchal system that
mm-hmm,
in places like Ghana, the Ghanaian Supreme Court has ruled that a woman is only as old as the youngest adult male member of her family. In other words, if you have a brother that is an adult, even though he's younger than you, he's still
mm-hmm.
considered more of a man, more of a person to deal with than you are. They'll go to your 18-year-old brother and talk to him instead of talking to you.
Wow.
And that's about marriage. That is about marriage. That's about taking you out on a date. These things are very much a cultural thing that you respect other men, even if you don't respect the woman.
Right.
So they often come
Yeah.
over here and, and portray like Africa is a place where little girls are sold into slavery, but it's just like here. If you do not have, due to famine, war, just crime on the streets, if your father or uncles are absent from your life, then you can find yourself in a situation where you're trafficked. And I mean, horribly trafficked. So
You,
I do empathize, but ladies, listen to what she said. The the young man's mother helped her with her homework. She broke up the fights. She helped wash the clothes that this young girl was hiding from her
Hmm.
own parents. And so, you
He
know how
brought
they
me
say when it
earrings.
takes a village to raise the kids? I'm sure her neighbors saw a young girl coming over to the house all the time.
Hmm.
So you know how they say, see something, say something? The only way we're going
Hmm.
to at least curtail, we're not going to ever end it, but curtail some of this sex trafficking is to open your mouth. If you see something, say something. And there are a lot of different avenues that you can do it. You can do it anonymously and let them suspect which one of the neighbors are in their business. Let them suspect. But maybe, you'll save a life. So go on, talk about, the experiences in skipping school. Parents also, notice she skipped school. Always maintain an open line of communication with the school. I hear a lot from a lot of divorced parents that they have difficulty accessing school records and school information because it's not in the court order that only one parent has access to the school records, etc. But men, since you always say you don't get custody, make sure you put it in the court order that you can have access to attendance records or any type of conduct information. That's vital. That's important because if you are the non-custodial father or the non-custodial mother, you need to know if your child is going to school every day. That's important. You need to be on that alert. Both of you need to be on that alert as soon as the kid does not show up for attendance so you can act. And don't tell me, oh, well, I can't act because I got to be at work. Guess what? Is any job more important than your child? As a mother who's lost a child, I can tell you I can get a job, but I can't get another child. Not to replace that one. So
Now,
if your job wants to give you a hard time about checking in on where your child is when they're supposed to be at school, fuck that job. It wasn't meant for you to be there.
now, you said he was. There was something about it, Chastity, that really caught us. That really caught us, and it shook me that
Hmm.
you said it. He trained
What was that?
you. He trained you to be his bottom bitch.
Yes.
Please go ahead. Go on with your story. Because
Okay.
go ahead.
I mean, the training, is basically like training a dog. Most people. I'm not going to say
Jesus.
that is true, but most people believe that abuse is the best way. So that took place a lot. It was it started off with him. Like I said, for the first year, I got everything. It was all him. I got nothing but love. And then I want to say 6 months until our second year, he got me drunk and gave me a pill and told me to have sex with his friend. He was like, my friend is having a bad time, and he really need to get off. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do about that? I'm yours. If I look at another man, you get upset. So you mean to tell me that he is different from the rest? He was like, I'm gonna make it an exception. If I'm your man, I'm your provider, and I'm your protector, then you're supposed to do as I say. And
See, that's the
I got
transition. That's the transition right there. Okay. After he has given you all kind of luxuries that you have not had from your household. After he has shown you allegedly love, loyalty, affection. After he has gained your trust, loyalty, affection. After he has isolated you and gotten you to lie to your mother and your immediate family. After all of these steps, you see, predators act in a stepwise, very, very methodical, systematic seduction. It begins
yes,
with everything that they're giving, 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 asking for nothing. Now, all of a sudden, you're fucking and sucking and doing all kind of things to him. He can use toys and objects, objectify you, but it's only him. And then one night, he makes an exception. This man's an exception. Oh, okay, you can group fuck because this man is needy emotionally. And now your loyalty to me goes to the next level. You do as I command. That's where you're fucked.
So one of the things about it, in asking, um, one of the things about it, and is, what happened if you said no?
Well, I got beat. It started with just a backhand to the face, to hitting the gut, to kick when I fell, to, I mean, in the closet, I got thrown around the room, raped, thrown in the closet. I was in the closet for days. I mean, I saw the light from the sun, fade away and then come back, fade away and then come back. I mean, he wouldn't let me drink. He wouldn't let me eat. He would come get me and sit me to the table. And like I said, his mom, she was, his father was horrible. He was, 1,000 times worse than him. So his mom has been going through that for a long time, that, she said this was her life. So she trained her mind to do as he say. And so whatever he said went, and his son was his best friend. So, it would be me, his mom, his father, and him, and they would not feed me. I mean, they would have a plate full of food sitting in front of them, and I would have nothing. Um, when dinner was over, he would throw me back in the closet. Whenever he felt like I needed to come out, the longest I've been in there, I could say, is like maybe 3 days at a time. He would come get me, and hey, I want some sex, like, and make it like it wasn't a, oh, okay, lay on the bed. No, you need to make me feel like you're in love, like you love me, right? Yeah, I do. I do love him, because I don't physically know what that means. Now, it wasn't I was slow, or I didn't know what exactly was going on. I knew it was bad, but it felt so damn good to finally be heard. I mean, the first year, I felt like a queen, an African queen. I mean, his mom was amazing. I didn't understand half the stuff she talked to me, because she's talking her language. She didn't understand. She didn't speak English, so when it come to math, she would help with homework, and she would do it. I would copy it, and when he would come in, he would read it to me, and then he would help too. He was loving, he was caring, but when it came to business, oh, like the about the second year is when I finally got the whole ordeal, about what was going on. He brought me to his uncle's club. I mean, the club really opened my eyes, and now I'm about
How,
15.
how old?
So,
Okay, so he took you to club at 15.
yeah, I was
So
about 15.
so he already had been. So he had already been beating you, drugging you,
Yes. Yes.
and starving you, and pretty much grooming you, that you
Yes.
became codependent on him and his word.
When
And that was
like I
from
said,
13.
when
And that was
I
from
finally
13
ran
to
away,
15. Go ahead.
yeah, when I finally ran away from home, yeah,
Wow. Go ahead.
when I finally ran away from home, yeah, that's when everything started, because I couldn't go home with the bruises. That's something that I can't hide. Like, I don't wear makeup. I don't do. It's too messy for me. I can't apply it the way it's supposed to. I didn't do that. I healed, and I say still to this day, it's by the grace of God that I walked away with a story with no evidence.
So
He didn't.
you ran away from home at about 15 when the
Yes,
first real beating, big, bad beating happened. So you couldn't hide
the
it.
when the first real big bad beating happened, we were coming out of the movie theaters. We went to see a movie, but we didn't make it into the movie to pay for the movie. He got mad at me because a guy that was sitting on the wall with his friends was like staring at me. I'm the one that I caught the guy, and I'm the one that tapped him and looked over. Like, I tapped him, and nudge my neck to the left, like, hey, bro, bro, looking at me, and he spazzed on me. Oh, so what the fuck that mean? You you want to go talk to him? So a nigga look at you and that's what you want? You want that nigga? Oh, okay. Well, hey, nigga, she want to talk to you. She want to suck your dick. Get on your knees, suck his dick, bitch. And if I didn't do it, it would be, we would have to leave. Like security would get involved, and I again, like I didn't say anything. My job was to sit there and look pretty. If he caught me looking eye to eye with a guy, like you know when we got back to the house, he gonna verbally abuse me, yeah. But when we got back to the house, it was like, I'm talking, the whole car ride is silent. We get in the house. I put the key in the keyhole. I open the door. I step through the threshold, and I'm either punched in the back of my head, or I'm choked around my neck, or I'm pushed in, kicked in, and I hit the ground. He closed the door, and it starts from there.
Um, let's take a. Let's,
I'm going to keep asking Joe to do this in case anyone is out there listening. If you need help, you need to know a safe place. There is a text number you can contact. It's for help 44357. The
okay.
number four and the word help, and text safe and just enter your zip code.
What's that number again,
Enter a zip.
Michelle?
I just texted it to you. Number
I
four,
got
HELP 44357.
And Chastity,
44357.
let me just say to you, sweetheart, you are the most courageous, most radiant woman that I have met in the past several years, honestly, because you're the phoenix. You know, I just started a book club, Chastity, of 11 women who have gone through many, many decades of life. The youngest woman in the
Hmm.
book club is probably about 42, but you're not even
Hmm.
30. You're not even 30. And you have
Hmm.
wisdom of women who are 60 and 70. I mean, your courage and the lives that you're changing just by telling your story. There's so many thousands of women that listen to Joe's channel that are going to hear you, Chastity, and they're going to identify with what you're saying. And it's going to be pivotal in their life. Baby girl, you're like a fire star. And I'm so proud of you tonight.
one of the things about it is we
Thank
hear a
you.
lot.
Thank you. I'm
We
sorry. Go
we
ahead.
hear a we hear a lot about abuse and mental health. Um, I'm just now hearing all this stuff from you. You never talked like this before, I'm very choked up about it because it's
Well,
very sad. It's very sad when you hear somebody being dehumanized and being dehumanized.
Like she said, it doesn't start out that way.
Right,
That's one
right.
of the things that people need to understand. As she said, she was trained like a dog. How do you train a dog? Well, you give it treats. You reward, it shakes your hand, you get a treat. It sits down, you get a treat. And that is part of molding. That's the way they mold these young girls and young boys. They get them used to getting a treat for certain behavior, being quiet, not telling where they went, you know, participating in a wrong. It could be something as simple as, watching them steal. You don't say anything. They watch your reactions, see how you act. It could be something as simple as, not paying for a meal. The thrill of getting up, running away from paying a meal. These are signs that perhaps you're with someone that is molding you into a life that you don't want to be. And it's not always young girls. I mean, we're going to jump ahead, hopefully, to a point where, it started out when she was 13. She ran away from home by the time she was 15 because of the level of abuse that she could no longer hide from her mother and father and grandmother. So now, when you had your, how old were you when you had your first child? Hello? Can y'all still hear me?
Like we can hear you. Chasity.
Yes, I'm back. I'm sorry.
Cassie, how old were you when
My
you had your
phone.
first child?
When I had my first baby, I was 21. I didn't have kids until I got away from him when I was 18. Um,
So
And how'd you get away from
I
him?
had I oh goodness. Excuse the stutter because that that kind of threw me off. I didn't think you were gonna ask that one. Um, well,
Hey,
it was one night. I got tired. You know, I had we had done several things. I call his
take your time. One night you had done some drugs.
Chastity, you're breaking up again. You guys, we thank everyone for
It
coming.
takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to leave.
Right.
That for many women, I hear often in the abusive, who are in abusive relationships, that they're afraid that if they do leave, that's when he'll kill them.
Yeah.
That as long as he has something to gain from keeping them around, they might get hurt. But as soon as he is convinced that they are done for good, that is when they are convinced that they will be killed. And for me, yes, it does happen to professionals. For me, the point in time in which I realized this abuse is over today, it was a point in time when I realized, a brave man dies but one death, a coward dies many small deaths. And I just decided that this day, if I was going to die, today was a good day. That was it. It was the end of it for me. No more, never again. That I had ran and hid, moved to different apartments, even left the country at one point in time to try to get away from an abuser. Stalker. This guy worked for the federal government. So anytime I flagged down a police officer, he'd walk up to him and show him his badge and claim jurisdiction. The police officer would get waved away. And here I am stuck, with this abuser, and the police just drove off. It didn't happen just once. I was at a club, and he saw me at the club and tried to snatch me, and the bouncers came and pulled me away from him, but he got my purse with my car keys in it. And the bouncers called the police, and again flashed the badge, and he drove off in my car. When my cousin went to take me home, because my car was gone with my keys, afraid to go to my house because my house key was on my key ring. Um, he was waiting across the street and chased us down the street, shooting at us. When we drove back to the club, the police were still there, and we started complaining that he had shot at us. I knew they had heard the gunshots. We hadn't gone that far because the car had not been shot. We couldn't prove that it was actually him shooting at us, other than the fact that the gun had been fired. But when had the gun been fired? And as far I mean, this is just trying to get him arrested, them to investigate it. It was literally, this is my car, this is my registration, these are my keys. After all that, he was finally arrested for having a gun on premises where alcohol was served. But he was released on his own recognizance that night. And he used his position as a federal officer to find out my cousin's address and showed up and kicked her door in. So it's things like that when you're like, okay, there's no help. The police can't help me. My friends and family can't help me. They can't hide me. I can't put them in danger. But it just happened to be one night after all this running, he found out where I lived and kicked that door. I opened the door thinking it was my girlfriend and saw it was him. And he pushed, kicked the door in, picked me up and tried to throw me out the window. When the window, thank goodness I didn't weigh that much back then. I was like 120 pounds, 5'7". For a black girl, didn't have that much weight on me. Luckily, I curled up in a ball and didn't go through the window. I fell on the couch. And when I fell on the couch, I bounced up and grabbed an ashtray, a crystal lead ashtray, and bashed him upside the back of the head. I ran out of the apartment, went running to my neighbor's house for help. When the police arrived, they saw him bleeding. So guess who they put in handcuffs? Me. They
The
saw
question,
me as the aggressor. Huh?
the, the question I want to ask, and I didn't even know, and I'm just asking. You don't have to go into detail, also. But Doctor A, did you ever go through any abuse with a man that also?
No, thank the Lord, I have not personally, but of course, professionally, I've counseled more than dozens. I've lost count how many women have been victimized by abuse. And we know the stats so that the number of women who represented themselves as victimized by abuse in an OBGYN's office is underrepresented because many women are hiding it from me, hiding molestation, hiding domestic violence, and hiding rape. And that's a statistical reality.
Afraid
Chastity,
you also forget I've been your friend for a long time, and I'm going to call you out. You have been mentally abused. You have been mentally abused to the point of you couldn't see straight at one point in time. So that's the other thing that people forget because I saw the signs in you. You were dating a young man in music. It went from treating you like royalty to degrading you to the point of you literally went to the point where you did not trust yourself as a woman. You were trying to figure out what you were doing wrong. He had you competing with another woman for his attention. And we have to be aware of those things. And, we discussed it like, get away from that. That when people start making you question your own professionalism, your own beauty, your own sense of self worth, when you got to try to compete with another woman, it's time to go. That when
I,
a man has you convinced you can't even open his bedroom door,
I got a
uh-uh.
question. I got a question, that, and this is something that bothered me, Chastity, that you said it so easily, and it scares me that it shows that he literally actually imprinted on you something. You easily said, I'm his bottom bitch." Does that mean there were other women that he was controlling other than just you?
I think we lost her. That's why I kept talking.
Chastity, hang on, we're gonna see if we can get her back. See if we can get her back. Um, I want y'all to understand this thing. Abuse comes in many different formats: physical, mental, right? Doesn't always have
Hmm.
to be with somebody hitting on you. You probably see time to time somebody being called names. I watch plenty of women being called names and verbally abused, and they take it, and it causes them to start doubting themselves, and literally, they go into postpartum because they don't think that their body. This is why I'm very sensitive when men start getting on women about how they look after having a baby. If their mind fully isn't there. This is why I always say I don't like social media when it comes at women and young girl. This is why a suicide rate had went up, skyrocketed. Um, the music, a lot of things. Sadly to say, I know a lot of people do not. A lot of women, a lot of women that you probably have sat across the table with at dinner, family gatherings or not, have probably majority of the time have come in contact with some form of abuse and have not and will not speak about it. And I know y'all think this. That's why my heart goes out to you, Chastity, for having the courage to talk about it, or just you women to talk about it. And I want y'all to see the spectrum. The spectrum has no respect of age, amount of job, or class. Abuse is abuse. I know a woman that literally she makes I think at least about $1 million or more, and she had to go to the ER because her husband beat her head in because she said something and everybody laughed. So he beat her and beat her and beat her, and now she's blind in one eye. But she did not press charges against him. She did not. They had to take the kids out of the home because the home was too volatile and dangerous. Um, Chastity, are you there? There, are you there? I gotta call her and let her ask see if she's there. Um, I
Yeah, I
have.
think it's an important topic. That I hear a lot of women. Like I said, I'm feisty, but I'm 130 pounds now, soaking wet after having 3 kids. So when I was in my 20s, I was physically fit, but I was dealing with a federal officer, men who had been trained to take down men that weighed damn 300 pounds. So, ladies, I don't recommend, going toe to toe with any man, even if he is your size, if you can avoid it. If you take a self defense class, please do, first of all. But if you take a self defense class, the purpose of self defense is to get the hell out of there so you can get help. It's not to try to beat his ass unless you're trying to knock him out so you can get the hell out of there.
Yeah,
But
we're trying to get a hold of Chastity right now. Um, I'm trying to make sure we get a hold of Chastity. So we do apologize if we haven't gotten in touch with her. Um, we do know she's in a volatile situation. So we do know if y'all don't know the backstory, she's in a volatile situation. That's why she's coming forward with her story, and we're hoping that we can maneuver her situation, out of her situation. Um, a lot of call girls die trying to get out of the situation. A lot of them die. We hear the conversations about women on social media that they said that they're going to leave, and a man comes and takes their life, or a woman talks them back into that of the fray and says, "No, you should stay." Um, I didn't know that one of my neighbors told me that um, her child was a product of rape. But I said, "But you have a boyfriend." She said, "Well, I didn't want the child. I didn't want the child. He just said I'm going to have his baby and just held me down." And I'm like, "That is assault at the highest level." Go ahead, Michelle. Could you please go over that? Um, could you please go over that? Um, and I
the
want to ask.
the hotline number, the hotline text line.
Well, hold on. I want to ask. I want to ask a question. Doctor A, are you there? Are you there? No, you're on
Yeah,
mute.
yeah, I'm here.
I want to ask a question. Um, How many women in relationships are forced or forcibly impregnated without their consent? Or is that just a myth or
It's
not a
very,
real?
and the
You said,
statistic is hard to calculate accurately because so many women are underreporting the actual facts. So realistically, Joe, in marriages, we know at least 1 in 7 women are under an abusive situation. And that's what's reported. Again, you have all types of cultural barriers to the reporting of marital abuse. Marital domestic violence is underreported far more extensively than domestic violence overall because you have circumstances of arranged marriage, of marriages from outside of the USA, and very, very traditional women who are submissive and who are not English speaking, and they are not reporting the domestic violence. So you have to take all of that into account when you talk about forcible impregnation. And I'm glad you brought up the topic.
I think Chastity, I saw your thing come back. Let me know if you're back. Um, say something. Um, Drop out and then come right back. It just happens. It's just your speaker. If you had a call, it happens. Just back out, come right back. Um, but that is a thing. Um, that is a holistic thing that happens.
And in
Um,
some areas, if not all, marital rape is something that is very difficult. It's very difficult to prove. It's
yes.
very difficult for people to even comprehend. Um, with the notion of the submissive woman that's coming back now in the whole social media sphere, I've literally seen white men brag that they begged the wife for just 6 seconds. Just let me put it in. While she's asleep, let me just put it in. They don't consider that forcible sexual encounters, much less impregnation.
Now, Chastity, are you there?
Yes, I'm back. I'm sorry. I had to refresh.
It's okay. But this is your night. And
Let
it's
me
your
go back to the question I was asking before we left. It was, how did you leave at 18?
Okay, so it was one night. Excuse me. One night, um, after we had sex, we went out to eat. Came home. We had sex. We went to bed. I couldn't sleep. I mean, first of all, for that week, I was completely off. Um, work was off. Money was off. Everything was just off. I mean, I didn't even wear heels. I usually wear heels. I didn't even wear heels. That's how you knew something was wrong. Um, so we went to bed. Like I said, I couldn't sleep, and so I mean, I grabbed the knife at first because I kept a pocket knife and I kept mace. He taught me to fight and shoot gun and protect myself and do certain things, but um, I don't know. I went to the bathroom. I threw up. I'm like, no, I can't. I had already had 2 miscarriages. I can't be, you know, pregnant again by this man who, like, no, I'm now coming into mentally, coming into, this is not how I want to live my life. I was making life decisions, executive decisions about my life, and I was, I was told that if I wanted change, I had to start. I had to make a change, and he was the biggest problem in my life. After I met him, everything went to hell. There's nothing lower than hell, and you know, I just got tired of it. I would if I felt if I could make this much money with him, how much money could I make alone? If I get this much attention with him, how much attention can I get alone? My mind, I know so much, and then, you know, back to that night, I grabbed the knife, but then I saw his gun. I picked up his gun. I got on top of him. He thought I was trying to have sex. Okay, he got hard. I sat on him, sucked it
Pause.
right in.
Pause. Pause.
Yeah.
Pause. Listen. Let me just do this real quick. Turn in the show.
Yes,
I don't want her to get any type of legal ramification. Let us know, okay?
I'm listening. That's why I'm
Okay.
glad you
Yes,
jumped in.
please.
Like I said, no.
Let's
Listen.
without going through all
We're
of
here.
the
We're here.
particulars.
We're
Without
here.
going through all the particulars, one night you left.
Right. We're here
You
for
left.
you.
Hmm.
Right. Go ahead. Go ahead,
One night you got enough courage to leave, to
Yes.
stand up to him, to get out. Where did you go?
Home.
To your mother and
No,
father.
no, my mom and my father weren't together. That's why I said my father wasn't physically. He was mentally and financially there. Now I did have I know my father. I'm a big daddy's girl now, but he wasn't physically there. When I was young, very young, he chose to go to work. I mean, what a man does, he provided, and
Right.
his job moved like states away. He had to
Right.
go upstate, downstate,
Right. That
and
was
so,
even part of what we identified in terms of how you were picked, how you were
mhm.
initially identified as being vulnerable. They look for the households with no daddy and an overworked mommy.
they, I'm gonna say this because you know, he turned me into a scout. Now we had scouts. Now again, I'm gonna say it's levels to becoming. It's just like if you start off at McDonald's as a cashier. You be there long enough. Eventually you're gonna become a shift manager. Okay, he made me a scout, meaning I would go out to clubs, bars, little teenage parties, little high school parties, college parties, and lure girls. It wasn't just he brought the girls. You know, we had people that would go out and bring them to us. He had me, when we had to disappear, he had me to go out and get girls, and that's how I became a madam because I would choose my girls after a while. After a while, he had to, go back and deal with his daughter. He had a daughter and a baby mom that he had to deal with, and I mean she was, doing the same thing, but she had came back from across state, and when she came back, meaning got out of jail. When she got out of jail, um, things were different, because she was his bottom bitch. But she did something that put her away for years after she had her child. And so I raised her child, and I was the
Was
bottom
this
bitch.
why you
Like,
were living with his mother? Or did you
yes,
guys eventually get your own?
no, there was no need for us to get our own. The house was
Chastity.
big enough. No, yes,
Okay.
Now, one of the things about it, you said the scouting process. How
hmm
old were you when you started scouting?
I was 15. That was my
So,
very first.
okay, so pay attention, everyone. So it was you were trained at 15 to scout for
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
other girls
hmm
to recruit them in. How would you recruit them in? What were your stuff that you would do to recruit them in?
Um, so it's like, I like to get my nails done. I like to get my hair done. I like to go shopping. So he would give me a whole bunch of money, and he would, first of all, it's like this. We would go to a party, and the girl that no one is paying attention to, the girl that's in the back, or the girl that's too drunk, or the girl that's crying because she has this is not adults, these are children now, these are teenagers, crying because she got problem going on at home. Dad may be raping her, dad may be abusive, mom may be on drugs, dad may be, it's something going on. And how I knew that was in the actions, what they did,
There's
how
a
they handled.
stereotype. There is a stereotype, and
There
you
is.
identified it.
Yes.
Go
um
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
but also I when it came to white women, now I Caucasian women, now see, it was a difference. You had black African American, you had Chinese, you had Japanese, and then you had Caucasian. Now you had to deal with them differently, because all of them are different cultures. They run their lives different. Their homes are different. Our Caucasian girls were more rich. They came from showered already. They were already showered, so we had to feed them drugs. Those, our Caucasian girls, I had to learn
Exactly. They are
that way.
vulnerable to emotional
Yes,
vulnerability.
yes,
They're
yes,
emotionally weak. They're not
yes.
financially needy. So again,
No,
the street skills are their PhD level. This is a
yes,
highly sophisticated intentional system.
yes. It is. It got so, like, the operation, when I became a full madam, um I had
Mm.
a whole house to myself. So I ran my operation differently. I ran it organized. Every girl had her own file. I knew her background. I knew all the way down to her social security number. I had everything in that file. If you wanted to know anything medically, you had to go through me. And it didn't matter how old she was. It didn't matter. I played a role for my oldest girl. I was her niece. I was a grandchild. I was a sister. I was a mom. I was a long lost cousin. I was a daughter of a best friend that's just helping out. It's like what you see on TV. Don't get me wrong. Now that's fake. What you see on TV. Do not believe the screen. It is not that easy. Like, okay, yeah, getting slapped by a guy, that's one thing. But getting your ribs broken by a guy, that is not easy to recover from. You feel me? So if you're sitting down and you're watching TV and thinking, oh, yeah, I can be that bitch, because they have, roles now on Facebook where they're like, oh, well, you can be a hood bitch. It is not easy being a hood bitch if you do not know what you are doing. One, it will show. Two, pulling that trigger and seeing that body drop is not easy dealing with it. I'm gonna say,
Okay,
and
let's
three,
move on. Let's
watching
let's
someone
seriously
else,
move on. Let's seriously
watching
move on
someone
past
else do a
that part.
crime, and having to, and not report it because you're afraid for your life, is not easy. This will mentally break you if you think you're mentally ready. You're not.
Chastity, can
Let's
I ask you a question?
yes, go
Yes.
ahead.
After all that you had gone through, now we're
Hmm.
talking 18, you
Yes.
left him.
Hmm.
What made you go out and start becoming a madam? Did you have men that you employed as I mean, what am I, bodyguards?
Yes. Well, see, when I left him, I completely left the life. Now my mom will probably hear this, but she knew nothing about this. She knew nothing. The only thing she knew was when she took me to the doctor, um, because I was having problems in my area. She knew that I was having sex with other guys and having sex with him. Because I told her about the other guys, but I got chlamydia and had chlamydia the whole time I was with them. And the guys told me, the doctor told me that I couldn't have kids.
Oh my
He
God.
Yeah,
See,
he
and
told
that
me that
is where doctors do a
it was.
disservice to Black women.
Hmm.
That's horrific.
Yeah.
Keep
I mean, when
going.
I had kids, I didn't have them natural. My daughter, I was in labor, and I was trying to. I wanted to have her natural. I always wanted kids, but and I always said when I was little, I want a girl and a boy, but I wanted them to be twins. God gave me what I wanted because I promised him. I promised him, if you let this baby come, I'm done with everything. That that life is, I'm done. Because I would dip and dab here and there. But I mean, I got it, and I didn't even know I was. I found out I was pregnant 3 months and five days, and when I had her, I had, while she was growing, I had two gallbladders. I made that start, not gallbladders, gallstones. I had two gallstones in my belly with her inside. I had her. They had to break my water, and they gave me a C-section. So for my kids, I have to get cut. My cervix wouldn't even open. I dilated half a centimeter, and that was after what, a day and a half, and then
Was that because of the chlamydia, or did you have other diseases?
No, no, no. Chlamydia
that was
causes
because,
infertility. Uh,
yes.
for the viewing audience, let me just clarify the medical facts. and why I
Yes.
said the medical community did Chastity a disservice telling her she's infertile. That was bullshit, okay? She had damage to her fallopian tubes. Chlamydia affects your cervix at the end of your vagina. And if you do not treat it, what Chastity was vulnerable and honest enough to say, she was
Yes.
not treated. So it
Yes.
spread. It
Yes.
spread all through her female organs. That's
Hmm.
called PID, pelvic
Yes.
inflammatory disease. You're often
Yes.
hospitalized with pus in your tubes.
Yes.
Nonetheless, God is able. God is
Correct.
able, and God is God, not the doctor. So a doctor should never say to a woman, it's impossible,
Yeah.
because that misleads her. And I'm
Mm.
Hmm.
glad, Chastity, that despite that, you made an agreement that if you were able to give birth, you would walk away from this life. And that was
Yes.
fulfilled.
Now,
Yes.
one of the things about it, and now one of the things about it that asking this, um, you know, and I'll give some of a backstory. Um, like I work in security. I do a lot of
Hmm.
bodyguard work. Uh, I have different affiliates and different stuff. Um, that's how me and Chastity bump into each other.
Yes.
She's a very, she's a very good woman. She's a very
Thank
good
you.
woman.
Phenomenal man.
And I think the thing about it, one of the things about it, Chastity, um, and then asking that, um, you became you became something that you hated, or that because you brought up something very important. You said that I didn't know I needed to feel pain to feel love.
Hmm.
Why was that?
Um.
Why was
Well, see, I had it confused. I confused pain for love, and then I confused lust for love. It wasn't until I finally realized that I was inflicting the same pain that he was inflicting on me on someone else. That
Was
I
that
looked in the
because you were beaten as a child, spanked as a child? Is
yes,
that how you started to
yes. Me and my mom, like, now we can have a conversation. Now she helps. She's my baby. We joke about this, but she's my baby father. I have two different baby fathers, but she's my baby father. She helps me non like 1,000 all the way through with my kids. When I was pregnant, she helped me. I decided to choose his family over her, and they kicked me out. Still, I mean, every time I left and came back, it wasn't a oh no, not this time. No, she never closed her door. And me being so rebellious as a child and not listening because now I know as an adult I see the reason why she was so hard because she saw me. She had me when she was 18. We grew up basically as sisters instead of mother and daughter. So with that alone, that messes up the relationship between a mother and a daughter because instead of sitting down and explaining it to me or her being in her womanhood being on that mental state to it's not punch you in the mouth if you get disrespectful, but listen, what you said was
Right.
real and disrespectful and it hurt me, and I know that you're coming into a woman, but
Right.
you're gonna respectful woman,
Right.
and instead
But it's
of
like I said
treating that,
before, the brain
huh?
doesn't develop until you're 25. So she was
Right,
18. She was a baby.
that?
exactly,
So I'm trying to
exactly.
understand one thing, and forgive me if I missed it. Okay, you
Hmm.
started recruiting other girls at 15.
Hmm.
Um, at what age did you become a madam? Were you still with him when you became a madam?
Yes, he made me the madam. I was 16. I had just turned
Okay, you're
16.
16 when you became a madam.
It was my
And
birthday celebration at his uncle's club, and he promoted me.
So, as a madam, what were your duties besides recruiting girls? Now you are doing what?
I run a whole operation. He put me in a house with four different rooms, and I had around this when I started, I had three. I had three girls, and as you know, I went on and on. I progressed, and around this time, I had seven girls. I was in a 4 bedroom house, 2 bath, and I had seven girls. And he would come by, but when he came by, for you know clients to come through and handle business or pick up money, or to see me check to see how things going. But he didn't run it. I ran it. It was everything, any and everything I said, the house had to do. So I was like the pimp, but I wasn't the pimp because I had someone over me. I was the madam. I was the mom of the house. When he came in, he was daddy. These are our children.
So, what was his cut?
That was the
Say
baby
again,
mama.
Sue.
Huh?
Oh,
The baby mama.
No, I mean, what was his cut of the house? I mean, how much money
Oh,
did he get off of your girls?
the rent.
Did y'all do it like 50-50?
No,
Y'all paid him
no.
rent.
Yeah, that was basically what it was. The rent. So we paid.
And if you don't
We would
mind me
get
asking, approximately how much was the rent for the 4 bedroom back then?
the rent was only like what, $600-700, but with everything included, which was drugs, things that you need for personal items, house things, things you need to live in a house with your family. That was added as well. So I mean, monthly we were moving a good mil to 1.5.
and he had taught you how to do this. He had taught you how to do this at, at what age? How old were you?
I was 14.
Now, question. Now, one of the things about it is, how old were the men um, that you were dealing with?
All ages.
Could you give us a parameter of a gauge?
I To be honest with you, I really can't because I don't know. I mean, if I got to talk to my client, then I would know how old he was. But for me to get all of that information, it wasn't like that. It was like a call center. If you call and ask for a girl, okay. If you see a girl on the internet and you want her and you call that number, all right. We make sure you're not law enforcement, and we give you the address. You either pull up or you give us your address, or we pull up, and that's how we think. We don't get deep with the clients. We don't want all of your information because we want you to feel safe. So if you have anything to hide, you don't necessarily have to hide it with us because we don't really care about what you got going on outside, except for if you are affiliated with any law. If you are affiliated with any law enforcement, I must know everything about you. That's everything about you, everything about your wife, everything about your kids. If I don't know these things and I find out, we have evidence that you have been messing around and you have paid for sex or a sexual act, and that's a criminal. That's a crime. So we can get you put away. And if you are a judge or attorney or police, that is against everything you stand for. So not only will you, in the eyes of the law, be wrong, but you should feel lower in life.
So, did you guys have cameras in these rooms?
Yes, I had cameras all over my house.
Did they have sex at your house, or did you guys use hotels, motels?
No, they would come to the house.
So the neighbors didn't complain about, different cars coming up?
No, his mom lived next door, and on the other side was a friend to the family.
Hmm.
So now looking at this, um, so we're looking at now. You ran away.
Hmm.
Uh, we're gonna fast track it up to. Um, did you ever try to find love?
No, I
Why?
buried that. I buried my feelings because
Who was your child by when you were 21?
um
If
my
just general, don't have to be specific. Tell me
oh
his name. Just
well
generally speaking.
my sister's best friend's boyfriend. He wasn't nothing to me. I was drunk one night. It was a one night stand. I don't even know. how he even, got off, because all I did was sit down and got up. 3 months later, I was pregnant.
Do you do you
I commend you on the, by the way, for, deciding life.
Yes, my
now?
mom tried to. My mom, my aunt, I mean, my whole family told me, they told me you get one mess up. All you got to do is get one abortion. My mom got an abortion once, and that's how she felt, because that's what her mom put in her head. Well, I'm sorry, but I have a strong enough mind at a very young age. I've been through too much. I'm not. I don't believe in abortions. I don't care what the circumstances are. You have choices, but you do not make that kind of choice because you're not God. I understand, you know, the developments. I understand, the bad things that could happen. But we are in 2023. We have all kinds of medical technology to put you in a safe place where you and that child can be born with no problem. If there
I
is,
commend you.
I'm
And
cut
it's
there
not
to the
just
point where I
commend you, but the bottom line is chastity is that child in the song, the child that's got their own. God bless the
Mhm,
child that's got their own. It's chastity.
mhm.
Like for
Right.
real.
But I was going to ask her a question because I know we're leading up to this. I'm going to say it like this, where's your daughter? Now, don't be specific, but in general, where's your daughter?
With her brother and her yaya. Well,
Okay.
right now at
So
this very
she's still
moment,
at the house. She's still at the house with
oh
you.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, I have full custody of both of my children. She's
Okay.
actually about to celebrate her birthday tomorrow. When she go to school tomorrow, she has cupcakes, balloons, and gift bags for her class for her to celebrate her birthday. And then when she come home, she has a big surprise. Her cousins are coming, and friends are coming that she didn't see in a long time. And she got a hotel. We're having a zombie 3 sleepover.
Now,
That's awesome.
one of the things about it, Chastity, um,
Hmm.
one of the things, you've been done very horrifically by men.
Thank you.
You've been beat. You've been raped.
Oh yeah.
You've
Yes.
been left
Sorry.
for dead.
Hmm.
Do you? How do you feel about men now?
I mean, they're human beings. I can't. I can't. I don't judge because over the years it took me. Now, see, when I left him, I was different. I was scared. I have anxiety. Now, a lot of things do scare me, but I've learned to put up a rock, or a block. I've learned to block out my feelings so well, to the point where you won't see it. Like, with a man, if a man approaches me, he'll if he approaches me, I commend him. Now, and the reason why I say that is because so many men in my life had told me it's hard to approach you. I don't see why, because I'm not a mean person, but they look at me and be like, "Oh no, like, if you approach her, you got to be on your A game. You got to be a sophisticated man to approach that woman, because from and these are random men that I've never met, walking in Walmart, walking, to pay for gas. You're very beautiful. Thank you. I mean, it's the confidence. I've been through so much of people telling me what I can't do, that now is when you tell me I can't do it, when I do it, I'm gonna come back around you, and I'm gonna show you the results of
Because
what you told me I
chastity,
couldn't do.
there is a calling on your life. And we talked about this outside of this
Hmm.
show. That
Yes.
beyond your story as a survivor, beyond your
Hmm.
story of being the phoenix that rises out of the ashes,
Hmm.
now you're about to start something for real, for real. You're about to start a movement of womanhood that triumphs all of this suppression and dehumanization and
Hmm.
invalidation that comes against all of that. You're the phoenix that they wish had died. Because now that you're alive, oh, shit's going to be different.
I
Somebody
think
asked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was going
somebody
to
asked.
say somebody asked the question. I think we really need
I
to get to
Where are
that
the
point.
girls? trafficked.
No,
Oh
and
yes,
they asked when you said 1.5 annually. They said annually. You said monthly. Am
monthly.
I not correct? You said $1.5 million monthly.
That's a lot
Yes,
of money.
monthly.
Yeah.
Yes,
So, what type of neighborhood were you running the house out of? Middle
it
class,
was
upper middle class?
upper. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, it wasn't a lot of traffic. If we had if we had people, you called and got scheduled now. We had parties. It would be a big party, and we would go and get them. We would run out a bus. We would go get the guys, and they would come to the house. Like we're having a party. So I mean, the when I started running my house, the neighbors that would ask, "Oh yeah, girl, we just had a party." If they wanted to know what was going on over there, like outside the house, you couldn't tell what was going on inside. Now, you had to really come inside and actually sit and talk to us because it looks like a big family of girls that just got together and stay in there. Because we had some girls that would, leave and go out of town for dates. So it was a revolving thing, but it was quiet. It was
What? No,
as far as the eye could see, you wouldn't be able to tell nothing.
two things. One, first question
Hmm.
is, how old was the youngest girl brought into that house?
Okay, now
How old was?
I'm gonna do what you did earlier, and I'm gonna ask Nichelle. I can't get in trouble for this, can I?
Estimate approximately because you didn't know.
Okay.
It wasn't like
Yes,
you
yes,
had a birth certificate or anything.
Right,
for you.
right. Okay. Estimates. Mm, that's still kind of bad.
There weren't any 9 year olds in the house. There weren't any children in the house. Let's just put
Well,
it
there
like that.
might have been, Michelle.
See,
Well,
we'll go.
that's why I'm just saying that for those who are asking questions like that, that
Right. Responsibility.
she's
They're
being
responsible.
she
Yes.
Was there any? Okay, okay. Here's a better way. Was there
I'm answer.
anybody below that of the consensual age of South Carolina standards?
Okay. I'm gonna answer it this way. This is what I'm gonna say. The the ones that were under the age of 13, they were found by me. Now this is my house, not his. My house. They were found by me on the streets, nowhere to go. Parents were either locked away, they were either homeless. It was a reason why they
but that
were
doesn't mean
in the
that they
street.
were working. That doesn't
But
mean
not
they
No,
were
only
no,
that,
in
but
they're
let me just
required to
say,
be.
that
for
doesn't mean that
chastity's
they
sake,
were
I
working in the I'm
listen.
sorry, I don't mean to
let
be
me just
I,
say,
loud.
for
I,
chastity's sake,
this is
that
reality.
anything that she says on this show that
Mhm.
would be moved forward in terms of prosecution, she
Yes,
absolutely is in the position of the cooperating witness. Okay. So that
yes,
charges can be brought against the 22-year-old grown ass man that
yes,
victimized her in the first place. So,
Right,
yes.
again,
but that's
that's
not
a
necessarily the
reality
case.
all across America.
After eight, that may
Think
not be
about
the
it.
case in South Carolina. That's why I'm
Right.
saying that as far as for the purposes of this show, if there were children under a certain age
Hmm.
by South Carolina statute that may have been in the house, they could
Hmm.
have been doing a variety of jobs, such as
Right. That's
cooking
what I
or
was getting.
cleaning to earn their keep. So that does
That's what I was
not
getting.
mean that just because the children were in the
Okay,
house, that they were engaged in any type of activity.
Sexual activity.
let me
Exactly. Their
let
requirements
me do
were
this. Let me do this, Chastity.
the house car, cleaning. When
So let me handle this.
when
Let me
the
handle this real quick, Chastity.
Mhm.
Hold on, Chastity. Let me handle this. So I know a lot of y'all are like, "Hey, like, allow her to talk," and I want you to understand this. This is a very sensitive
Mhm.
talking point because there are still people still in that lifestyle or world
Mhm.
that when you say certain things, there are ramifications. I understand people in line want to know, but for some people, This can mean A, they will be put out of their home or out of
Mm-hmm.
maybe a shitty home or shitty environment.
Yes.
There are ramifications. Or let's say there's the best way. I'm gonna tell you like this, and I'm gonna give it like this. We did a job. We bounty hunted a guy and took him away. Now we thought we did a good service, but when a 9-year old came out and said, "Hey, yo, you took my fucking brother away. He's the only one that makes money.
Mm-hmm.
So who's gonna take my grandma to dialysis? Who's gonna pay the bills? You gotta understand, it's not so cut black and white as it would like to be. So I understand where the girl, and yeah, no, like we're gonna. I understand and understand this. This will not be the only time Chastity is here. So I want you to understand we're not doing everything tonight. Y'all feel me? Me, Attorney in the Shell, Dr. A, Chastity. We're not doing everything tonight. This is kind of more of an icebreaker. So
And you
Chastity,
know, we're going to be careful. We're going to be careful about
yeah,
some of the things
this
that
is
are
us
said on
learning.
this show.
We're learning this as we go right now tonight. So we're learning as we
Right.
go.
A lot of this is live, and if we talk over people, and I don't mean to be rude and talk over Joe just then, like I said, but as we've learned with Bill Cosby, sometimes laws can be changed to retroactively ensnare someone into something that, as of the date of this broadcast, there may be a there statute of limitation may be, you know, 5, 10 years currently, but someone listening to this show may decide, hey, let's do legislation to wrap up women like Chastity. So we
Right.
don't want her to say anything about her particular anything that was done to her. We're listening. We want people to be aware, but she's said she's done some things she's not proud of. But let's just leave it at that as much as we can.
Like I said, we definitely are in a world where things, and I don't want you to be shamed. I, if you, I understand these are things that happen, and I'm glad we're thankful. Again, this is our first time of us having this conversation. You're in a safe place um, with Dr. A, attorney in the show. They're here for your protection. Okay, that's why when you were talking about how you got out, I
Mm-hmm.
stopped and I said, "What you saw me do?
Yeah.
Turn in the shell.
Yeah.
Should you give legal counsel?"
Mm-hmm.
Come to that
Look,
of you
Yeah.
talking about that of your physicalities of the medical. That's where Dr. A steps in to protect you for the medical side, so that way you get the proper representation. I understand. Listen, y'all, when we do these kind of stuff, understand. I've been working with Chastity and other girls to try to help them get their lives out of this world. This is not an easy world to get out of because a lot of these girls end up dead, dead, dead. They turn up missing. There was one that was trying to get girls out. She died the next morning. They put a bullet in her head. So they play for keeps with these women. Question that
did
one
you hear
person
how much
asked.
money they were making per month?
So
1.5. This is an estimate. 1.5 million per month.
is that
Now,
now
a
something?
lot of you, huh?
No, no. Well, go ask them. The thing about it is they want to ask the question: how is that possible that that amount of girls can generate that amount of money a month? That was a question asked.
Right. Understandable. Anybody
I
want to do
will.
some math on this? 30
I will.
days in a month?
I will do this. There is an escort. There is an escort thing. I want you all go to y'all's. Go to. This is Google. Go to Google on your phone. Put in escort and put in your state. Put in escort and then put in your state. And you will see how much these girls charge for just 15 minutes. For 15 minutes is what some people make in a day. And if they
I
have a
mean,
constant, go ahead.
this isn't what you see on TV where it's like, street hookers are $75 for, back in, doing it in the back of the car. This is sophisticated, organized enterprise that the rates are often hourly, an amount that many of us do not see in a day. It is astronomical. Okay, let me put this relative so you can understand. When I first started practicing law, I had a client that ran a strip club, client of my boss, law firm. I went there for forms to be filled out. I'm sitting at the bar waiting. A gentleman walks up to me and asked, how much did I charge? And I said, this was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I said, oh, I'm $150 an hour. He said, that's cheap. I said, that's because I just got started. But don't worry, my boss supervises, everything to make sure it's done right. He goes, wow. The owner of the club came out and says, this gentleman bothering you. He was like, oh, I was just trying to see if she was available for a date. I said, a date? I said, I thought you wanted an attorney. He said, oh, he said, you don't work here? I said, no. And I asked the guy, I said, wait a minute, hold up. How much do these girls make? Because I need to renegotiate with my boss. Those girls were making more, as this was back in 1995. They were making more per hour than I was making as an attorney. Some of them were making more than my boss was making, and he was making top rate at $400 an hour. So think of it like this: if a lap dance is $25 at the strip club, $25, $50 now. And how long does that take? About 5 minutes, 3 minutes. Extrapolate these numbers out. That these girls, every little additional thing is more, a la carte.
And not only that, but when you're talking top notch escort services, these are the things that billionaires go broke over. These are the things that the top bling bling rap artists brag that they spent $1 million on a night on a hooker or an escort. So this is status for the wealthy, is how much they can splurge for some punani.
Hmm.
Somebody asked a very fair statement, and it's very fair. And I'm just gonna read them off. Okay, so we read them off. There's somebody asked about the 10K per week. That's about 10K per week. Chastity, how much does 15 minutes normally guys will pay for 15 minutes, or just a few seconds of your time if they had to? You're on mute. You're on mute.
I'm here.
Okay, so they want to know about making that amount of money so quickly. How much is 15 minutes? How much is 15 minutes? Like, do like, is it like $20, $30, 50, 100? How much can that rack up? Can anybody hear?
I cannot hear her, but let me just say this, Joe. Um, for the importance of what we're talking about and why I came on this show for free, it's not to glamorize
Right.
a brutal, victimizing industry. It's not to say, oh my God, look at how much money one can generate. Wow. Look at how much one can prosper in a capitalist society. The point in Chastity being here is to say she has survived brutalization, victimization, dehumanization. And it all started with being a vulnerable teenager whose daddy left physically the household and whose mother was trying to pay the bills and was not physically available, emotionally, psychologically available. Someone who felt unaccepted and unloved. That turns into what we see now. And it could have gone differently. She could have OD'd. She could have died of chlamydia, syphilis, HIV.
Somebody
She
asks a
could have
very
died, but the reality, she survived. But how many women did not? And we're here to save lives, not to glamorize what she did.
somebody asks a very fair question. I don't believe that she's a victim. She has zero empathy and is most likely a sociopath. I had zero parents and grew up in foster care and would never even think about hurting another person sick. This is the next one. Hang on. She said that she masks her feelings, but it's not a mask. She honestly cannot feel anything. There's no way at 14 that you can just allow other girls your age and younger to cry for help daily and just sit there. Now, you have a fair assessment in how you feel, and I want all of y'all to know that. I want all of y'all to know that. The human body and human mind, when put in certain types of environments, does interesting things to survive. It will do things. This is why, and I might need to go get different like people who've been in it. Like this is why I gathered attorney Michelle because there are people that you'd be surprised what they will surpass. Again, she openly told y'all, if some of y'all were here, that she literally was dehumanized to the point where she stopped feeling. She stopped feeling for a while. I'm not making no excuse. This is the reality of when
You
people
don't
stop.
have to make an
I,
excuse.
I know. I know.
Your people making comments have never been deprived of bathroom privileges, food, and water, everything but oxygen. They have never been locked in a closet physically, emotionally, mentally, or psychologically. So they have no clue. And they're not psychological experts. So they're talking bullshit, which they can because it's a public channel, but they don't know shit from shit. Okay. Experts with stripes are invited to be on the panel. Commentary is for clowns.
I
Hey,
think
let's not piss off our audience. Let's not alienate them. Anyway, what we're trying to get
I am
to
sticking up
besides
for
the
chastity,
emotional style of it,
period.
besides the emotional of it, is how common this is.
right.
We want people to understand that these houses are not just got billboards. Hi, this is a whorehouse. This is a brothel. This is the best little whorehouse in Texas. They're not like that anymore. They are in middle class neighborhoods. They are run discreetly. There are all kinds of promotions over the internet. You know, there's one thing. I just watched a Netflix series, actually a couple of them, on sex trafficking. It is not, as one girl said, she had to keep a smile on her face while being raped several times a day, every day. That men come to these places to live out fantasies. Some of them save up for it. They save up because they want this idea of dominion and control over a person that cannot say no. There are no consequences. There are bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, even, where the fun of it seems to bring out the worst of some of the what you may consider the nicest people around. You cannot sit up there and say, like, this is just limited to the scum of the earth. I
Right.
mean, in my area, one of the city council members was part of a swingers club. The swingers club often employed call girls to live out the fantasies of some of the members.
And they paid some quite like I listen. I get. Listen, man. Like I understand some people are bothered, and I want y'all to feel bothered by this, like because it's glamorized so much. It's glamorized so much about what happens. You know, um, being I'm going too far back because we can't deal with, um, like it is a lot. This is humanity. Y'all just had it where two men were selling their children for money.
Mm.
There are parents that sell their own children. There are people that do these things
Yes.
and train them. I get it. You don't like it hearing that she told you the inner workings of how this works. That I know some people believe that there's a man. A man came up, recruited, and trained her and taught her how to go fish and hook.
Hmm.
And that's what she did.
Hmm.
Um, like
And sometimes you would, when you get beat and tortured to a certain level, you would rather bring in another victim
yeah,
than you go through the victimization yourself. It's wrong, but there's a sociological aspect of it that is so, it's either them or me. It's either them or
It's a
me.
mental thing.
I got a question. I got a question.
Hmm.
Um, and I know we're going back.
Hmm.
How many times did you try? How many times? How many handlers have you ever had?
For
So I will define for y'all. Does anybody know what a handler is? Does anybody know what a handler is? I know the term. Chastity,
hmm
Come on, define it.
can you define what
well,
a
I mean,
handler is?
it's different, but your handler is like your, basically your second pimp. When I went out of the state, now I see in the comments where it's a lot of questions about the financial. Now, see, you got to understand, to make that kind of money, you have to set a certain standard. Now, we live in this house. It's a operation. It's the same way, just like how um school is ran. It's the same way, just like how, you know a job is ran, like McDonald's or a company. It's certain things that you do, and it's certain things you do to make the product. When you put the product on display, you put it at a certain price. If and I'm not heartless. It's just, it's like this. um like I said before, anybody can do it. I buried my feelings when it comes to certain things, and you have to be at a certain state in your mind to be able to separate the two. You have to train your mind. Now, this didn't happen over a wake up. This happened over time. You know,
You said
I
years.
went
You
through
said
certain
years for years.
things. Right. I went through certain things to get to, certain levels, with certain things that I did. It didn't come out of the blue. I went through something and said, you know what, instead of doing it that way, I'm gonna do it a different way. I found a better way to keep him happy than doing it exactly his way. Because you got to know that I'm not a submissive at all. I'm very dominant. I'm very rebellious. It's not easy to take over. So when he did take, it's like all of this, you know, is a mind thing. How I got my
And bear in
girls,
mind, she was a
I got them from
minor
their
when she
mind.
did these things. For the most part, she was a minor. She
Yes,
left when she was 18. Please, let's
mine. Now
also
I'm only,
understand.
yes, I'm only 28. Now, I got away from him when I was 18. I just had my daughter when I was 21. I'm only like, I walked away from this
When,
before I had kids.
when did he pick you up? How old was he when he approached you?
Oh, I was, when I first see, very very first time of ever, seeing him and knowing him, I was 13. But when we started talking, I was 14 years old.
That's 5 years. So that's
Hmm.
5 years that with that just one guy. So and
Hmm.
that's remind you that's two miscarriages and that's grooming, and that's also living in his mindset. Listen, y'all, I'm not running the interference game. I, maybe for me, because I also was in this. How old? He was 22. I know some people coming in. He was 22. He was 22
23.
to 23.
20. Mm-hmm.
So we have that.
Now I'm going to ask a question
Go
because
ahead.
I
Mm-hmm.
remember one point in time your ribs. You talked about ribs being broken. Were your ribs broken?
No, he made me watch him do it to another girl.
Okay, so
Yes. So
people in the
there's a lot of,
comments section, people in the comments
you know,
section, I want you to listen to what she said. He tortured her by making her watch another person being tortured, with probably the threat that next time or very soon it could be her.
Right.
right.
That these are war tactics. These are things like we have to tell our enemies not to do when we're at war with one another.
Mm-hmm.
But these things are known to be highly effective forms of interrogation, coercion, and torture.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, they happen across the United States. You
So
have police
let me.
officers. Go
Uh-huh.
ahead.
Oh, well, let me say this. I'm gonna clear up a lot of things. Um, any and everything that you know I have said or I have been through. The one thing that I did learn that is, it's a mind thing. Everything that I went through was a mind thing. It was all in my head.
We lost
Be an
Chastity
escort.
again. I can't hear her.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Now.
Yeah. I said in my house, you don't necessarily have to be an escort. I don't. I mean, I ran it. I I don't care what you did. Whatever you, if you weren't an escort, you did something. When he was over me and over my house, I had to run it under his rules. But when it became fully mine, oh, yes, you work. That's why I said that's why I was little shaky about the age thing, because when I was forced, that's one thing. But when I had full control, oh no, ma'am. School, yes, you will go. House, you will have chores. Those children didn't come in under sex trafficking. They didn't come in my house under anything sexual. They came in because they had nowhere else to go. That was shelter for them. They were not allowed to come to the parties. They were not allowed to indulge with the men or women or anything. You got to understand that I was the mother of that house. That was mine. So you can come in here and see, you can see my baby. She's beautiful, isn't she? I know. But if you touch her, we got problems.
So one of the things about it, one of the things about it is this, y'all.
Can I run the number one more time? Can we keep running that number
Go ahead.
for help?
Go
For
ahead.
help, text safe with your zip code. And it's the number four and the word HELP. That's
Mhm.
44357. Just
Mhm.
text safe and your current zip code, and they can
Mhm.
get you help. Okay? Because if you suspect that the people across the street, you see too many girls going in and out, it's
Mhm.
like that doesn't look like a cohesive family unit. There's Asian, there's black, maybe it's a foster care facility, maybe not. But in
Mhm.
order to combat sex trafficking within the United States, we have to become better aware of our surroundings, of our neighbors. It's not cute to move into a neighborhood and act like you live in an apartment complex. I'm like, girl, I don't talk to my neighbors. Fuck them. They always looking over here, looking at my yard. No. A
Yes.
neighborhood is about knowing your neighbors, being part of a community. It's not cute to say you're not
Yeah.
part of that community. That's not cute.
Hmm.
That doesn't help anybody when you do things like that.
Your neighbor's kids are your kids.
Exactly.
You feel me?
And
And
so rather than beat her down about what she did when she was a minor, what she had to do to survive as a runaway herself,
hmm
let's pay attention to what she's saying about how she was trapped in the industry, how she learned to target and ID other young girls that were suffering vulnerable because there were certain telltale signs. If it hadn't been her, it probably would have been somebody else, maybe
that
somebody much worse.
I think the
exactly.
thing,
That's I,
one of the things about it is, we always envision, and this is something that, um, in Chastity's first introduction, but Chastity, I'm hoping that we do more shows with you talking about these kind of
yeah.
things. Um, um,
Yes.
one of the things about it
Yes.
is,
I
she
want
now I want you to know next time we're gonna have some people invited up because they want to know. Like one of the questions was, what happened to the other girls that were trafficked? Like what happened to them? Are they gone? Did they stay? Are they, deleted? Like,
to 1000% agree with me. Huh? I'm sorry. I think I skipped
huh?
out.
I think one of the things about it, like you guys, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you right now, man. This is a very, 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 very long yellow brick road. That is not easy. That cannot easily be stamped out. You cannot.
Mm-mm.
It's something. Every type of format of entity is either partaking in it or has some type of grasp in it. It is one of the oldest industries in the book. I know y'all may not like hearing about it, but she's telling you that of some of the intricacies of the grooming process. There's a grooming
Mm-hmm.
process that I was a part of called bleeding the sheets, where they take all the newbies and they make them all have sex on a bunch of mattresses on the floor. And when other people partake in and join in. Now, people, y'all don't like hearing that, but that's a part of my reality of how they broke a lot of people in. And if you didn't join in, they would
Mm-hmm.
beat you very, very viciously. So you either got beat or took off your clothes and laid down on those mattresses. Now, there is nothing any man, which I've heard a lot of black men try to shame me about when I was in that world. That's one thing why me and Chastity easily can talk about this type of stuff, and me and her have an easy connection on talking about these things because I empathetically understand that of the recruiting and grooming process of being beat and starved and being done horrific things. After a while, to stop the abuse, you will take anything or say yes to anything to get it to stop. This is a practice that is even done to soldiers. They do it to soldiers where they beat you, torture you,
Mm-hmm.
play loud music, all that stuff. After a while, they say, "Do you want to eat? Here, eat. Do you want to eat again? You're gonna listen." That's why it's a grooming process. It's not, and the thing about it is we're showing that it has no ramification. I'm glad it made you feel uncomfortable because chastity's not here to make y'all feel uncomfortable, make y'all feel comfortable. This is not a bedtime story. This is a reality check. That's why when Dr. A says, let it rip, tell them how it is. She could have held back, but she told y'all. Now she's not trying to say I'm a hero. She said, this is what happened. Okay, she told you daddy wasn't there. Daddy, she's daddy's girl, but daddy wasn't there. That's letting a lot of black men understand that. Guess what? Throwing money at your household does not fix your problems. That's letting Michelle brought up about the parents. But hey, mamas, you need to definitely do your diligence and check on your babies. You know what I'm saying?
You know, I tell a
Always.
lot of my male clients that get into the whole, it's my time, my. And I tell them, I said, you know something? If you just drove by and you only got to make sure your child was okay, ask them about school every day, eye to eye contact, people see that, yeah, this dad stops by at lunch. You know, make yourself, and it also applies to the ladies who've lost possession, but, you know, we can't just always be having conversations about how, 20% of your paycheck per child is bleeding you dry, or 50% of your paycheck for five baby mamas is bleeding you dry. We got to start talking about how, if you have five baby mamas, how you can protect your children, both your boys and your girls, from sex trafficking, because it happens to boys as well as girls.
Yes. Yes.
And sometimes I want to say this: a good friend of mine found out that he was HIV positive when we were in college. Turns out that in the area, again, South Carolina, where he was from, older white men groomed little boys. They groomed the little boys that they saw walking back and forth to school that may not have, it wasn't the brand of clothes that you wore, it was the level of care that was put into those clothes. Were the clothes ironed? Were they clean? Did they have holes in them? Wear and tear holes, not fashion holes like they do today. These older men watched the little boys and offered them odd jobs and things like that to do, so the little boys could make some first honest money, and then it progressed to things that were despicable. So don't think that just because you have all boys, you're off, hey, I'm glad I dodged that bullet. Because be careful who your sons or daughters go off to do. If your boys are out raking the leaves, let them be out front raking the leaves. Monitor your kids. Encourage their ingenuity. Encourage their work ethic, but protect your kids.
Like I
Send them
said,
in groups.
yeah. Listen, you guys. We do apologize. If even we do apologize, even though Dr. A turned up on you. Those of y'all in the viewer chat. Dr. A is a medical professional. Okay, her and Chastity are very close. Like they're very close. Like they've had long. Like they just start talking and he just start going at it. And she's very protective of Chastity. That's her job as a doctor to be protective of her client. Michelle would be this. Michelle is the same way. When she told Chastity, "Hey, we're going to stop you if we start talking about certain stuff," because understand
And I got to
sometimes.
get on Joe real quick. Joe, you got the wrong thing up there. I wanted to be helpful. It's 1-4, the word help, and you text the word safe with your zip code.
Okay, let me
For
fix
help.
let me fix that. Let me fix that.
hmm
Is it 1-4?
It's 1-4 for help. Text safe, the word safe, and your zip code. For
Well,
help.
we're gonna get that squared away. We're gonna get that squared away. Understand, y'all. This is not the only show we're doing. Again, this is me and Michelle do this off screen a lot. This is not a one time thing. The show has many cases in
Oh,
which
and I
she's
want to
dealt.
clear up something real quick. Real quick. I got to do this. I have to do this before I forget. There's an organization called excuse me. If you guys have Quick Trip in your areas, there has been a little misunderstanding about their SAFE program. Okay? So if you know of a teenager or anyone like that, the Safe Harbor is designed primarily for runaways and teenagers. That if you know of a teenager that needs to get off the street, gets out of sex trafficking or whatnot, you can tell them to go to a quick trip. But this is going to be what's going to happen. They go to the quick trip. There's no safe hiding space. What they will do is stay behind the counter with the cashier while the authorities and the people from Safe Harbor, the youth center, are contacted. It's not in all areas throughout the United States, but in the major cities, in the major areas of the city, you can tell kids to go to a quick trip gas station. Now, there could, as you understand, the police love to come in and out of that area in order to help the cashiers feel safe. So if you can get a teenager, because if you're domestic violence or an older adult that may be sex trafficked, it may not work as well because obviously the cashier doesn't have a gun behind the counter in most cases. So if you have a pimp that's trying to attack you, or a husband or a boyfriend that's trying to attack you, that may not be the safest place to go. But the the for help number, they can get you help or tell you where to go as quickly as you can in that particular zip code. So I just wanted to clear that up so that, if I had misspoke before and said go to Quick Trip, that I don't want to get anybody hurt, but that is an avenue for teenagers.
Right. Yeah, like I said, you guys. Like I said, Attorney Michelle, I, and Dr. A have been trying to. We do this. Like this is very important to us. Trying to help these type of people, not just women, but men, children. There's a lot of people in very dire situations, and Chastity is just one of many. I, like I said, this is everybody talks about these like these narratives, but then this is things that go behind closed doors. And she told you, like, I wasn't in no hood or no ghetto. She was in a nice, well-to-do suburb area. So these things do happen, and people don't believe them. Like they don't they hear about them on the news when they finally blow up or they do a sting. You know what I'm saying? I think a few politicians have been caught up in these things. But we thank y'all for definitely tuning in. Chassie definitely already said she will be back. Attorney Michelle, I and Dr. A, we will be getting better at doing this type of discussion level with Chastity. We've done it before with another female. Um, like again, I know there was a trans that was also part of this. That person was sadly deleted. Somebody took them out, and because they were removing people out of off of that type of board. So this is a very dangerous thing. We thank you guys for coming. Attend the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you,
Thank you
thank you,
guys for listening, and thank you for having me.
thank you
And
guys.
be
And
safe out there.
we appreciate you guys. Like, share, subscribe. And if you don't like the content, if you thought this was too much for you, I don't think this channel might be for you. But this is what we do on BMT. Thank you guys. Peace.
Bye.